Oh, we'll take nothing for granted. And always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Breastfeed your baby exclusively for the first 6 months of life. It helps them grow healthy and strong and protects them from infections and illnesses. Mothers with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 should be encouraged to initiate or continue to breastfeed while adhering to COVID-19 infection prevention and control measures to avert contact transmission of the virus to their infants and young children. Breast milk remains the best food and improves the baby's immunity. Breastfeeding is a foundation for a child's future health. Mothers who breastfeed reduce their risk of developing breast and ovarian cancers.
Devki Steel Mills have provided quality building material with the widest range of associated steel products over the last 3 decades. Look for the Devki mark on a widest selling reinforcement, twisted and TMT rebars, which are KBS certified and have the diamond mark of quality. Devki Steel, Kenya's most trusted steel company.
The super efficient Jiko Koa requires half the charcoal of other Jikos, so you use less fuel and receive immediate savings. Enjoy our special offer now and save 1,000 Kenya shillings with every purchase. Jiko Koa, Kenya's #1 saving Jiko.
This is NTV.
Good evening, good to see you, and you're right on time for NTV Weekend Edition. If you're like me, you're curious to know what the state of Jacqueline and her baby is after witnessing what ordeal they went through when she delivered outside the Pumwani Maternity Hospital. Charity Mwangi managed to track them down, and the baby has no name yet, but stay tuned because I propose Baby Pendo. What do you think? Well, we also have a big interview lined up with a man popularly known as the Grand Mullah, and he has no problem pulling his punches. More on that in the course of this bulletin. Here is what else we have lined up for you.
Tonight, she cried on the street outside Pumwani Hospital.
Tulikuwa painful, tunajaribu kujifunika pia mtoto asilalie hiyo mchanga, hiyo floor hapo chini palikuwa na mawe.
Her tears of pain amid the joy of life. The baby girl is beautiful, but NMS is battling to clear an ugly situation.
I've never ever lied, and I take great exception that our statement could be termed as a lie.
Jacqueline Faustina's exclusive interview. Plus, the Ruto-Raila rumble. They keep politicking as they lead the country astray in open, televised breach of the law. Dear leaders, who's fooling who?
Rallies gani? Rallies ziko wapi? Rally wale mikutano inafanywa watu wako na barakoa kwa sababu maisha lazima pia iendelee.
Imepelekea wananchi wengi tufikirie kwamba kumbe hii corona haikuwa, kumbe tulikuwa tunaambiwa fungeni mdomo ndio watu fulani wakule.
Because why? Sababu hao wanafanya mikutano na tunaona katika mikutano hiyo wakibu distance na wafai mbolokoa ili wafanye kazi yao campaign na sisi tukae tuendelee kukufa.
The guard is being lowered. Also tonight,
my name is Nuru Mugai Kenyatta and this is what I want.
My name is William Samuel and this is what I want.
Tujenge ichi.
Kamoja.
This is a class act. More than a hobby, more of a dream, running on humble resources.
This is NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi and Mark Masai.
Thank you for joining us on NTV Tonight.
Our sign language interpreter is David Angodoa, and tonight we put our focus on what we are calling the broken system.
And on our big interview,
if you think there's a genuine fight to fight corruption, you are delusional.
Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi shares more than just a piece of his mind.
There are people who can kill you in this country and there's no consequences.
Brand Mula speaks.
This is Weekend Edition with Olive Burrows.
Did you see the miniature Mark Masai and Smriti Vidyarthi? Ngina Kiruri will bring us a full report a little later. The video of a woman giving birth outside Pumwani Hospital in Nairobi has sparked outrage, and understandably so. The woman, Jacqueline Faustina, says she was shocked to see that her life-threatening ordeal and moment of vulnerability and abandonment was captured on camera and shared widely. She was heartbroken, but still fought to save her baby, as her husband also pulled his weight. NTV's Charity Mwangi visited the family's home and got exclusive access and got to interact with the mother and their week-old baby.
Jacqueline Faustina has been in seclusion after the episode that left her sense of dignity shredded. The delivery of her daughter on the sun-scorched tarmac wasn't how she envisioned the arrival of her third child at Pumwani Maternity Hospital. Her husband's frantic pleas to the guards to open the gates for them fell on deaf ears. And so, because the baby could not wait, it had to happen right there, as total strangers watched. On 13th September, she tells us that the pains came suddenly when she was all alone in the house.
Mzee vile alikuja baadaye akapata nimezidiwa sana. Tukatoka akaita gari pale kwa barabara tukaenda Pumwani. Vile tulifika Pumwani walikataa kufungua gate. Tukaomba tufungulie, wakakataa. Wakasema wako strike haiwezi fungua gate. So nilikuwa nimezidiwa sana. Sikuweza kutoka hapo. Ilikuwa kaa 10 minutes nikawaomba tena wakakataa, mtoto akatoka tu hapo.
The experience exactly a week ago felt like a daze, a nightmare of an experience she wouldn't wish on anyone.
Ilikuwa painful kwa barabara mbele ya watu. Nilikuwa naogopa mtoto asiumie, plus kulikuwa na jua, so nilikuwa najaribu kujifunika, plus kuna watu hapo wanaume, so nilikuwa najaribu kufunika pia mtoto asilalie hiyo mchanga, hiyo floor hapo chini palikuwa na mawe.
Through all this came forth a beautiful baby girl. Any woman will tell you that the joy of holding a healthy newborn replaces the pains of labor. No different from the joy this 1-week-old baby brings. Though the baby is generally fine, she did not go unscathed.
Alizaliwa breathe vizuri na alikuwa anatapika, akaikwa nursery, so walimtibu tu vizuri.
Her responsibilities as a mother have been a great escape. But she still doesn't understand why she was treated as such. Even as a Tanzanian, she rightfully expects to be treated like any other lady in need of maternity services. Humanity, one would hope, precedes nationality.
Nilisikia vibaya sana. Ndani kulikuwa na watu wanahudumiwa. Lakini mimi naomba nifunguliwe gate wanihudumie, sikupata msaada sasa. After sasa ile nimejifungua, ndo maana sio anakuja kunisaidia. So sikusikia poa.
She has been in the country for years, having delivered all 3 of her children in the country. While some people fault the hospital, others direct their disappointment at leaders, some of whom appeared reckless in their reactions yesterday. Enter Honorable Esther Passaris. Goodies in tow. Her visit, she says, is meant to check up on the family and to congratulate them in their new bundle of joy. She says she stands by her comments yesterday.
I believe that Pomwani also acted very, very fast. Under the circumstances, the nurse told me she could have been there in 3 minutes had there not been people outside that made her feel scared. So for me, I have no regrets in what I said, because at the end of the day, right, a woman, when she's ready to give birth, she will give birth.
Jacqueline's husband made it clear that he was very aggrieved, first by the guards who abandoned him at his lowest point, and secondly by the unreliable system that caused the unfortunate event.
Mara ya kwanza
wakakataa,
tukazunguka hapo tukawaomba wakakataa, tukaenda tena Afuani tukakosa parking, tukarudi tena hapo tukawaomba wakakataa. Kama angekuwa watu wazuri pia angeona kweli tuna emergency na angefungua. Ndio paka raia walifika hatua ya kufungua ile gate na nguvu, ndio manasi ni wakuje.
The system seems to continue to beat them down, with the hospital having denied them a birth notification as the baby was not technically born in the hospital.
Ingebidi tu pale kwa kadi waandike amezaliwa tu ndani ya Pomwani.
Ni kweli. Na umewalipa pia kwa sababu mama alikuwa kwa Pomwani pia.
Dr. Ouma Oluga, the Deputy Director for Medical Services in Nairobi, on his part regrets the event. He, however, stands by the statement that the medical staff delivered the baby, even though the mother has a different account of the incident.
I've never ever lied, and I take great exception that our statement could be termed as a lie.
This particular day, we had actually ensured that labor ward had 3 nurses. 2 are the ones who are actively managing, because one has to be a runner nurse, running between labor ward, theatre and newborn. Newborn had 2 nurses and theatre had 3 nurses.
Almost on cue with such unfortunate happenings, several politicians appeared to condemn the institution's handling of Jacqueline and her family. With the attention this story has drawn, several political leaders and government officials flocked their home. With the silence that will now follow, you can only imagine what will happen. What is important, though, for now?
Despite her dramatic entrance into the world, this baby remains calm and peaceful. She's yet to be named. Her parents tell us they are struggling to find a suitable name for this angel. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
As they circle the wagons, I proposed Baby Penda. What do you propose as a name for the beautiful baby girl? We are glad to see that she's faring well, but her mother and herself should not have undergone what they did. Now, the Kenyan political scene was today dominated by the growing rivalry between Deputy President William Ruto and the ODM leader Raila Odinga, with the 2 leaders trading unsavory words. While the DP welcomed former Prime Minister to the Hustler Nation, Raila on his part criticized Ruto's initiatives for the youth, terming them tokenism. Here is Okukusa with that report.
The Deputy President who attended the installation of Bishop Joshua Kimuyu at AIC Ziwani in Nairobi jestingly extended an olive branch to the former PM to join the Hustler movement.
Na kwa sababu wamekubali ya kwamba Kenya ni Hustler Nation, sisi tunasema priority ya kwenda mbele ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba mahasla wanapata kazi, mahasla wanapata biashara.
But Raila, who was in Kisumu Central for an ODM delegates meeting, rubbished Ruto's Hustler movement, saying that all the presidents Kenya has had in the past came from humble backgrounds, and so the dynasty narrative does not hold.
The founding father of this nation, Jomo Kenyatta, was a son of a peasant. Himself was a peasant. He was actually a meter reader in Nairobi, running with a bicycle, reading the meter. So hii mambo ya kusema ati sisi hustler.
Raila challenged the DP to instead sell his agenda for the nation and allow the government he is serving to implement development initiatives.
Sasa wanakwenda wananunua wheelbarrow, pikipiki, sijui tangi ya maji, and then unaita vijana hapa na hapa, unapewa. You are in the government. Do the things in the government, let the government do those things. However, Raila Odinga can be giving a token to people outside because he's not in government.
The DP, on the other hand, referred to those condemning his youth empowerment projects to the Bible.
Wakuje pole pole, wawache matusi, wawache madharau, waheshimu biashara ya kila mtu.
Viva Unagi, viva! Today's tirades come in the wake of speculations of an impending visit by Ruto to Raila's political backyard of Kisumu County, a visit that is already causing jitters in the region after a group calling itself the Nyanza Youth Movement for Ruto 2022 asked ODM to stop giving the DP ultimatums.
William Ruto sio MCA, umwambie venye ataongea akikuja kuongea na maasla wenzake. Ukae ukijua sisi maasla tumeamua na tutasupport Mheshimiwa Ruto.
Ukiweka standawili na wheelbarrow, mtachagua nini? Tumetoka na huyo mtu. Standawili na wheelbarrow, mtachagua nini? Haya, nyamaza. Niweke standawili. Niweke tega na pikipiki, utachagua nini dadi? Mimi nachagua pikipiki. Standawili. Mimi kama Moskila.
Huko Kusa, NTV.
Some of the scenes you've witnessed in that report on the Ruto-Raila rumble in the time of a pandemic. At a time when there are laws against such gatherings, many questions beg. A key one being, does Kenya operate under the rule of law or the rule of flaw? Such gatherings, presided over by individuals in the highest offices in the land, have contributed to the general relaxing on vigilance against the killer disease among Kenyans. And that killer disease, we all know by now, is COVID-19. Terms that were once common were wash your hands, sanitize, wear a mask, social distance, and they appear to now be a distant consideration. The Inspector General of Police was ordered to crack the whip even on the termed waheshimiwas, but the President's orders seem not to be on the menu. Anita Nkonge looks at the calls for reopening the economy, the fueled conspiracy theories, and the question, government, who is fooling who?
This is Kenya. Life is reverting to what would be termed as the old normal. Less of masks, even less of sanitizing and hand washing, and far much less social and physical distancing. The fear of COVID-19 and caution against it seem to be a nice story in the books of history. This, various people say, is a reflection of the example set by leaders. The sea of people drowning in excitement of being in the presence of their leaders, dancing to the tunes of entertainment, but also dancing with death under the Waheshimiwa's leadership in light of the COVID-19 containment rules which have been trampled on upon in recent days. Let's revisit the law. The Kenya Gazette Supplement number 41, tied to the Public Health Act, stipulates that every person who is in a public place during the restriction period shall A. Maintain a physical distance of no less than 1 meter from the next person, and B. Use a proper face mask that must cover the person's mouth and nose. To cement that, the head of state, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, issued orders and directives.
The Inspector General of Police shall ensure that his officers spare no Mheshimiwa, no individual, irregardless of social status or rank, who is either out after curfew without being an essential worker, or who flaunts the health protocols that have been set out.
And a warning to those who enforce the law, who now protect the very people flaunting it.
That strict personal sanction will ensue to all police and national administration officers in whose areas of jurisdiction there is a breach of the said guidelines.
But this has been treated as various other directives presidential nonetheless, ignored and breached. The Interfaith Council's rules on Phase 1 of church participation clearly states that congregants are not only required to wear masks throughout the service, but that they should also maintain a 1.5 meter social distance, avoid physical contact, and that the congregational worship should last no longer than 90 minutes. Let's do some quick spot if you can, shall we? How many masks do you see here? What about 1.5 meter social distancing? Even Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria, who recently shared images of himself in hospital for COVID-19 treatment, neither had a mask nor did he distance himself as everyone ought to. ODM leader Raila Odinga, who according to the stipulated age groups falls under the vulnerable group. Nonetheless, it appears politics rules the day, whether it exposes the common wananchi or not. Hustler Nation, Building Bridges Initiative, Elusive Luya Unity, the Mountain and its throne holder, Ukambani Wars, Mpwani Politics, and so on. Among the concerns in this situation is that the people who attend the rallies are not as advantaged as the leaders in regards to access to affordable and reliable healthcare, while the Waheshimiwas can access the best even abroad. Further, analysts have pointed out that it sets an example and precedent of ignoring the rule of law, which praise and glamour to it, which they add is breeding anarchy. This has led many to saying that the president should not open up the country, as it is hypocritical to allow political meetings to happen with no repercussions to anyone involved, and in the same breath limit numbers in places of worship and other social premises, as well as keep entertainment joints shut, all which would help many earn their now more scarce than ever daily bread. With Kenyans being frustrated at the state of life, the treatment of the supreme law of the land by the highest and most influential leaders in the very same land, alongside the plunder of the COVID-19 millionaires, has fueled conspiracy theories and dug feelings of helplessness and hopelessness into the hearts of many, because the police, under the Ministry of Interior, have failed to heed the head of state's directive, but will take stern action against common wananchi for lesser sins.
Ukiangalia watu ambao ni wadosi, wale ambao wanataka kuchaguliwa, sasa wameanza kufanya mitihani, akina Raila, akina Ruto, akina Uhuru, watu wanafanya mikutano, watu hawana mask, hakuna social distance, alafu wanaanza kutuambia tufunge midomo ili wafanye kazi yao campaign, na sisi tukae tuendelee kukufa.
Pesa ambazo zilinuia kusaidia kupunguza maambukizi ya corona pale KEMSA imeweza kunyakuliwa, na hii imepelekea wananchi wengi tufikirie kwamba kumbe hii corona haikuwa, kumbe tulikuwa tunaambiwa fungeni mdomo ndio watu fulani wakule.
Serikali inatuahidi to keep distance, lakini tukiangalia kwa TV tunaangalia kwa nini tunaona hao ndio wanatufunza keep distance.
Tuko na weakness moja, hatufuati sheria.
Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Kumbe tulikuwa tunaambiwa tufunge mdomo ndio watu wengine wakule. Now, a quote by Christopher Moore states that children see the magic in the world because they look for it. This is quite fitting to describe a group of children in Huruma who are finding magic in their everyday surroundings, including music, movies, and even advertisements. Branding themselves as the H-Town Kids, the children, led by their manager Rose Moura, use a few items they have to recreate scenes from their favorite movies, videos, and trending topics. Gina Kirori visited the team and tells us why no dream is too big for them.
Lights, camera, action. But not in the TV studio. Instead, along the corridors of these homes in Casanova area, Huruma, where these children known as the H-Town Kids stitch together the scene for their latest act, a news bulletin.
Thank you for joining us on NTV tonight.
Tonight, our sign language interpreter is David Angodoa.
Mtazamaji, karibu tena kwa taarifa hizo na nyingine kwa kina.
Kina natanguliwa kusema cartoon mwezi Februari. Kwa hivyo tayari tumeaga Januari.
It is a slow but sure process as the kids and their manager Rose Moura work to make sure everything is perfect and nothing is off limits with the team as they have fearlessly reenacted politics, advertisements, and their biggest project yet, the Black Panther movie.
is hard for a good man.
Hii streets za ghetto usipokuwa careful, watu wengi hupotea. So ndio tukaanza, yani during holiday times ndio kukeep at least watu busy.
All these fantastic acts are shot, edited, and uploaded on Rose's mobile phone. Training for a scene can take as long as 2 days for the team that first came together last year.
Tunaweza taka mtu anaweza tusaidia either na kina laptop kitu, yani ita make work easier. Plus Bluetooth speakers for dancers.
And for the budding actors and actresses, acting is not just a hobby, but the fuel to make their dreams come true.
Kwa sababu yani inakufundisha kitu yenye hata uko najua, kama ni jina inakufundisha hata jina yenye hata hujaisikia. Nataka kuwa the biggest actress.
God amenifungulia mlango, but nataka sasa ipanue kwa big in future, ndio hata kama nitakuwa na shule yangu nisaidie watu huko.
Welcome to NTV.
And this is our guest, Gina Kiruri.
This is true talent right in the heart of Huruma. But much more will need to be done in order for these children to go from the potential they possess to truly achieving their dreams. Gina Kiruri, NTV, Nairobi.
They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Mark Masai, Smriti Vidyarthi should be sincerely flattered, and I expect you to visit the tots. All right, coming up is a big interview. Take a look.
The people who own Kenya is the people who steal from Kenya, you know. The guys in the executive, you know. The guys who give a contract to a Chinese company, earn 30% as kickback, and nothing happens to them.
Oh, yani aje, mimi ndo Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumio transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest igi kosi yote. Siri ni hii real mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia aerial touch of down mpya tu.
Devki Steel Mills have provided quality building material with the widest range of associated steel products over the last 3 decades. Look for the Devki mark on a widest selling reinforcement, twisted and TMT rebars, which are KBS certified and have the diamond mark of quality. Devki Steel, Kenya's most trusted steel company.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Pants is just for me. It really feels very comfy.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Hey guys, so I'm about to head out to meet the girls. As you know, this is the outfit of the day. We're about to go out and we're going to meet the girls.
Get fresh, gotta get fresh.
Downy's new boom boom pow. Downy boom boom pow. Smells bayana uchafuzi na zidi na improve Downy. Protect nguo zangu na nukia niko safi. Lazima niwe fresh na Downy's boom boom pow. Boom boom pow. Downy's new boom boom pow. Smells zote na zi boom boom pow. Powerful freshness. Downy's boom boom pow.
You have been chosen to come here because you are the best journalism students in Kenya.
If your content is not interesting to look at, don't waste my time.
You submitted your work late. Why?
each and everything that we used had problem.
No excuses in the newsroom.
Just let it go because it's a teamwork, for heaven's sake.
I think you should go home.
What if you don't agree with what he said? Will you say, So keep that.
Tumechoka, tumebit, tumezunguka.
Ni noma.
Welcome to Garden of Joy in Machakos by Optiven. This is a gated community that is strategically located only 7 minutes drive from Komata. The title deeds are ready. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
They call him the Grand Mullah. His tweets cause tremors on Twitter. His lifestyle is as loud as his opinions. Is it really? As a lawyer, he has represented the high and the mighty. In the big interview tonight, Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi opens up on the Constitution, BBI, corruption, governance, his life on Twitter, and his famous car in conversation with Joseph Warungu.
Welcome to We the People, a series of conversations looking back at the past 10 years of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And today my guest is Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir. So what would you say is the biggest or the most significant achievement of the Constitution of Kenya as it stands right now?
As I said, I mean, this Constitution, you know, when we got it, it took us 25 to 30 years. So it's a document that Kenyans really struggled for it. People have lost lives. People have invested so much time and resources into it. So when we got the document, it was a document that really addressed all the ills of the country since it was created in 1963. So, I mean, the document itself, the Constitution itself, I think is the most singular achievement for Kenyans. It has a lot of good things about it. It has a lot of things, you know, that have, you know, brought seismic change into governance of the country, how the judiciary is run. So in terms of, you know, the good things about the Constitution, there are so many good things about the Constitution. I mean, especially in the abstract aspect of it. But for us to have, you know, to celebrate it, we really need to see how it was implemented in the last 10 years. I mean, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, so it is how we implemented it.
So we know it's got a lot of stuff. Some people call it a progressive constitution. Is anything that stands out for you in terms of what it has managed to achieve for the people of Kenya?
I think the Bill of Rights, I mean, there has been, you know, there have been a lot of litigation on the Bill of Rights. Its enforcement, I mean, that's a very, you know, that's an area Kenyans can be proud of. Certain aspect of the judiciary, especially how it rose to the occasion, especially during the first 5 years, during, you know, the tenure of William Mutunga as Chief Justice. Those are some of the landmarks, you know. Those are some of the great achievements of how the Constitution has changed, you know, the landmark in this country.
What would you say is maybe one of its biggest failures?
I think the biggest failure of the Constitution is inability to control the big man. That has been the worst. That has been the biggest failure. This Constitution has not shackled the executive as we thought it will. And that is, you know, something for Kenyans to ponder. That is the biggest challenge. I don't think it's a failure, but it's the biggest challenge that faced this country or this Constitution, that the executive, especially the president, has shown that at times he can either ignore the Constitution or he can even be bigger than the Constitution and nothing much can happen.
Are you talking about the current president or any sitting president?
No, the current president, because, you know, the 2010 Constitution has seen only 2 presidents, Kibaki for about 3 years, Uhuru for 7 years. Kibaki was, to be fair to him, wholeheartedly impressed with the Constitution and tried to implement it. Uhuru, to be fair to him, has wholeheartedly rejected the Constitution and tries to operate outside the Constitution.
So the Constitution is very clear about, you know, separation of powers between the president, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, but it's not really happening. What's the problem?
I mean, you see, Constitution is about restraint of power. That's the essence of a Constitution. It restrains power. It stops exercise of arbitrary power. So it limits the power of individuals and say that, you know, this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. So when a person disregards that, the Constitution sanctions that breach. But if you think you are powerful and you can disregard it, I mean, nothing, I mean, the president or anybody, the executive can disregard that restraint of power and it still goes on as normal. So that's what happens.
Do you think the president just disregards the constitution or is forced to?
No. Nobody forces you to disregard. Disregard of it's willful act. It's a conscious decision to disregard. I mean, I'm not saying that he disregards it in every aspect, but you see, when the executive decides what aspect of the constitution to comply with and what aspect of the constitution to disregard, I mean, we are in a very precarious position.
Is there something that he has done that you felt has gone outside of, of what the constitution?
I mean, you see, his refusal to appoint the 41 judges. The president doesn't have powers to refuse to appoint. The courts have said so many times that he doesn't have power. The president has disregarded those judgments. I mean, that is a very weighty breach of the constitution. When the president says that I will not comply with either a court order or I will not swear some judges because someone has told me some rumors about them, I mean, that is something very grave for me.
And is there anything in law that can restrain him from or contain him in terms of?
Yes. I mean, the Constitution speaks to him in terms of what he should do, and he has spoken back to the Constitution and said that I will not do it. So that is the impasse the country is facing.
So you may have a very beautiful document which captures the aspirations of Kenyans, but one individual can decide actually this doesn't really matter.
Yes, and that's the unfortunate thing about this. I mean, the Constitution speaks very well about so many issues. It sets, balance of power, checks and balances, rights and responsibilities, duties. But if a person as powerful as the president says that, I don't like this and I will not adhere to, of course, there are certain other issues that can address, Parliament can address, the courts can address. But you see, Parliament has its own limitations. Parliament is a political institution controlled by the president and his party. So all those things, come into play.
And this kind of disregard for the constitution, what does that say in terms of, rule of law and respect for rule of law?
It's a tragedy, I mean, when a president disregards the law of the land, especially the constitution, it's a tragedy. It's a monumental tragedy for the country. You see, adherence to the rule of law is one of the cardinal principles of the Constitution. It's the very foundation of this Constitution, that everybody will obey the Constitution. I mean, the Constitution is a covenant we have as a country. You as a citizen, the president, the judiciary, everybody has to pay his role. And everybody's role, everybody's responsibility, everybody's duties have been defined and delimited by the Constitution. So when someone says that, no, I don't like this, willful disregard, I mean, it's a tragedy.
Now, talk about the presidency. Every time we have an election in Kenya, pretty much, it's always a contested. We have a lot of contested legitimacy following each election, and I know you have been involved yourself in some of these petitions. What is it that we didn't get quite right in terms of the Constitution that we have to have this kind of disputes or legitimacy, which sometimes may spill over to violence?
No, I was hearing the president and the former prime minister rationalizing the handshake on the basis that it creates peace. Why we have violence in this country is lack of adherence to the law and the inability of the law to enforce obedience. It is that simple. It is that simple. If we have a constitution, if we have an election process, and the election process says that, for example, that Uhuru has won it, and Raila says, no, I have some issue, he goes to court and he has redress. That's the way to go. But once the court says it is final say, everybody should disobey. The problem we have in this country is that there are tribal warlords in this country which the law fails to address or fails to sanction because those who are supposed to sanction them are afraid of them. That is the problem we have in this country. People can't enforce the law against certain tribal warlords. It's that simple.
So, but in terms of the actual conduct of maybe even a free and fair election, the Constitution caters for that?
Absolutely. I mean, the Constitution caters for it. We have election law. We have an election process. And I tell people, that I've done election petitions in some of the remotest parts of this country, like Mandera North. And when you do the audit of the election, you will find very little errors, very, very little errors, which shows that the election in this country, by large, is done in a very remarkably efficient manner.
Now, the constitution itself was tested in the 2017 election when we led to an annulment. Would you say that it stood its test? It passed its test?
I mean, I have my views about that judgment, about that process, but that is a constitutional process. We disagree with it, we criticize it, but we have to respect it. And that is the process that should be followed and allowed to function. Yes, it stood within it. I mean, it stood the test. It shows that even within certain perimeters, the legal system in this country works, can resolve disputes. But the problem is when a person disobeys the system, the legal infrastructure of this country, the court or the law must be able to bite and bite hard.
Do you think all that is behind us, or 2022 might still open up, another opportunity for?
You see, the problem with this country is a problem of the rule of law. We don't enforce the rule of law. If someone, for example, there are certain people who breaks the law, there's no consequences. When you have that trend of a certain time or a certain period of time, you have a gradual erosion of the rule of law. When you have a gradual erosion of the rule of law and you have an election and someone breaks the law, you can't enforce the law, and that's what creates mayhem. In a civilized country, when there is a small riot, the law must take its course. There must be consequence. Every action a politician or a Kenyan take must have a legal consequences. But the problem with this country is that there are many people who can take legal actions, and there is no legal consequences. There are people who can kill you in this country, and there is no consequences. There are many murder cases in this country that have not been investigated. When you have such a long trend, then you know that there are huge gaps in the rule of law. And these politicians are smart. They can see that, somebody killed someone 3-4 years ago, nothing happened. Someone stole public funds a few years ago, nothing happened. When you have that pool of, empirical evidence, then the rule of law becomes really troubled.
Now, if you had the power, what aspects of the Constitution would you change or suggest needs to be changed or reviewed?
I think the idea of the idea of appointing, ministers from the executive, from outside Parliament was not that good idea. I think it's good when Parliament, when we have a hybrid system of executive and parliamentary system, so that we have Parliament, so that we have members of Parliament who are also ministers, and they are accountable. I mean, now, in the old days, ministers used to issue ministerial statements. We used to have a Parliament with very robust debate on issues. I mean, we don't have that. We have a Parliament that's a rubber stamp. We have an executive that, nobody checks the executive. Who checks the executive now? Yes.
We seem to be in a perpetual process of reviewing the Constitution. You said it's taken us so many years to get this 2010 Constitution. And now we're again saying, we need to relook again and we need to amend this, and that. You have the BBI process going on. What is it that is so inadequate in our Constitution that we have to keep tampering or wanting to tamper with the document?
First, my view is that the BPI is not a reviewing of the Constitution. My view as a Kenyan is that the BPI is an illegitimate process. It is an unconstitutional way to amend the Constitution, because it's just two men, in my view, the President and the former Prime Minister, who decided on their own motion without any prodding that the Constitution needs to be amended. They have not consulted Kenyans, or if they have consulted, they have consulted in a very cavalier, manner. But, the Constitution is a solemn document. As I said, it took us 25, 30 years to have this Constitution. The struggle started in the late 80s, went through the 90s, all this. So amending the Constitution is, you must carry everybody. I mean, it's a document that belongs to people, to the entire country. So when just two individuals, they may be powerful today, but I'm sure tomorrow they may not be powerful. But when two men decide on their own motion that they want to amend the Constitution, it shows how fragile our constitutional setup is, and also it shows the perilous forces we face in terms of a constitutional democracy. Just imagine, the entire constitutional substructure of this country is being changed at the whims of just two people.
These two people say they're acting on behalf of millions of Kenyans.
I voted for Uhuru three times. He's not acting for me. He has not consulted Kenyans. Raila has no mandate from anybody in this country. He's not elected. He holds no office. They are just using brute force. It's an assault of the constitution. It is unheard of in Kenya's history that two individuals can decide and change our constitutional architecture.
In fairness, they haven't changed it, and if they were, it would need Kenyans to do that, or at least Parliament.
Yes, but they have initiated it. It is, I don't know how far it will go, but that they can have that audacity, to change the constitution on their own. I'm flabbergasted.
Now, whatever they're trying to achieve through BBI, do you think that the constitution provides for the kind of things that they're trying to...
who knows what... do you know what BBI contains? I don't know. Many people don't know. We just hear these rumors that they want to create this. It shows how, elitist a process this has been. The common man, or even, someone like me who, at least a lawyer who knows one or two things, we don't know what it entails. It's so private, it's so secret. But you see, I'm not saying the constitution cannot be changed, but if there is enough consensus from the grassroots of this country, if there is such a momentum from the public that they want to change the constitution, there's no problem with changing the constitution. What I have a problem with is two people wake up, drum some supports, organize some barazas, some rallies, and then you change the constitution because you have the political power to do it. It is such an unfortunate process.
I did warn you that the man does not pull his punches. The second half of that interview between the Grand Mullah and Joseph Warungu coming up after this break.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
So vile nasema, wacha nikubatie statistics. Niko na gamia 1,500. Tunakuwa drapo gamia na kuwa 6,000. 2,000 natengeneza leather, natengeneza viatu, wallet, kibeti, nauza hapa, na batia wewe 50%. Wacha niweke credit nikupigie.
Namna gani wewe? Hii mambo ya kuishiwa na credit kila saa? Come on. Nunua hiyo simu ya Vodafone. Calling fiber to fiber is 0 shillings per minute. And it is not expensive. Only 2,999 Kenya shillings.
Alo hali wa. Hata fadhali hiyo credit ikae ninunue simu basi.
Faibika leo na Vodafone for only 2,999 Kenya shillings. It will always be free to call fiber to fiber.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Mavuno Fertilizers, a soil and crop specific fertilizer in Kenya, helps improve food security by improving crop yields through application of scientifically researched nutrition-based fertilizers. More than 500,000 farmers in Kenya can have easy access at affordable packs of 1 kg to 50 kg across major agro-dealers. Farmers who have used Mavuno Fertilizers have realized 30% more yield. Please feed your crop and soil with the best fertilizers for future prosperity. Call us today and learn how Mavuno Fertilizers is helping in increasing food production in Africa.
Hello? Dude, United on fire. United? Rashford is unstoppable. Tell me you have DSTV, Eddie. Do you know that I get more than 20 live matches on any given week from the best leagues in the world? La Liga, Serie A, the Champions League, the Premier League. Oh, what about that? Do you have Premier League?
No, we don't have that.
Eddie, if you're going to spend your money, spend it on the best football in the world.
Dial *423# to buy a DSTV HD decoder for only 1,999 shillings.
Ah, Helen Paul.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I've been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X.
It is specially made for germs and stains removal. Harpic's thick formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach.
Wow, now I'm convinced, Helen Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
For more than 10 years now, One Acre Fund has worked with farmers across Kenya to give them access to quality seeds, fertilizer, and farming inputs through affordable financing options. To find out how you too can join the 1 Acre Fund program, dial *689#. 1 Acre Fund. Mkulima Kwanza.
Karatina University wishes to announce to all new and continuing students that lectures of the first semester of the 2020-2021 academic year are ongoing. New students university joining instructions and details on creation of e-learning account for all students are on the university website. Payment of requisite fees is a requirement. For more information, visit our website on www.karu.ac.ke or contact us on the details on your screen. Karatina University, inspiring innovation and leadership.
The super efficient Jiko Koa requires half the charcoal of other Jikos, so you use less fuel and receive immediate savings. Enjoy our special offer now and save 1,000 Kenya shillings with every purchase. Jiko Koa, Kenya's #1 saving Jiko.
My name is Tom Gishohe. I'm the Executive Director for the Association of Kenya Insurers. We have changed the mode of delivering our motor insurance certificates from physical to digital. The motor insurance certificate has not changed. What has actually changed is the mode of delivery of the certificate from physical to digital. Now, the moment you receive the digital certificate, the next thing that you need to do is to get it printed using a color printer, cut it along the dotted line, and stick it on your screen. In the event that you would like to verify the genuineness of the certificate, what you need to do is to dial *352#. You can also download the Aki app onto your phone and use the app to verify the genuineness of the certificate. If by any chance you happen to sell your motor vehicle, it will be important that you contact your insurance company for cancellation of the certificate that you're holding. Otherwise, the buyer, the new owner of the motor vehicle will not be able to access insurance and insurance certificate until that process is completed.
We have an obligation to make sure that there is safety of the students when we are looking for a bus.
That is why we are using the high tensile steel from Doshi.
Jijenge na Doshi Steel, chuma ya nguvu.
Shawa ni sawa, ukishawa na sawa. Inakawia bana, inakawia Shawa ni sawa. Wazi yangu iko sawa, ninanukia viviti. Shawa ni sawa. Rangi ya kupendeza bei, iko poa ching ching ching. Shawa ni sawa. Ukibana wetu mia sawa ushinde. Sawa all day. Sawa shawa, au shawa sawa.
Sour Shower has never been better with the new look Sour. Now with a new formulation too that will leave you feeling fresh for longer while the soap lasts even longer.
Let's talk about the Judicial Service Commission. Some people see it as, it's dominated by lawyers and magistrates and judges, and people wonder, shouldn't it be a lot more independent, so that if it has to act in terms of people in the judiciary, then it has the muscle to do that? What are your views?
Let me tell you about, there has been so much issue about the Judicial Service Commission. I served it for 3 years. The Judicial Service Commission is the most independent constitutional commission in this country. It's the only commission that the government has failed to capture. Of course, I think they have tried a lot of times, and maybe they have captured it now, but it was different when I was there. The Judicial Service Commission has many judges, it's true. It has 2 lawyers, but the president has, I think, 4 members who represent, there are 2 who are supposed to represent the public interest, but the president appoints whoever he wants. There can be reform, I have no problem. I think you can improve the composition of the JC. You can add 1 more lawyer, in my view. You can add one more individual from the business or the commercial interests of the country. But this, this propaganda against the JSC, that it's not accountable, it's a propaganda that is being propounded by the executive, because the executive knows first how powerful the JSC is, because it appoints the judges, it appoints the chief justice, it appoints everybody. So the government has been complaining all along that it has failed to capture the JSC, and I think it's a good thing if it has failed. So this idea that let us amend so that we add the police service, the AG. Because if you add the AG, the president will have 1 more vote. If you add someone from KRA, the president will have another 1 more vote.
The struggle or the fight against corruption has really been hampered, because you've got these various institutions. You've got the DCI, you've got the public prosecutor, and then you've got the EACC. Shouldn't maybe the EACC have been given an opportunity to perhaps have a police service within it, so that it can both prosecute, it can investigate, it can do all those things?
No. The current structure is proper. It has checks and balances. There's a policeman who investigates these issues. He gives to the DPP, who decides whether this is a proper case. Then there are those special offenses, those special offenses that the Anti-Corruption Commission investigates. But you see, the Anti-Corruption Commission is part, despite the veneer of independence, the anti-corruption organ is part of the executive. It's basically a department in the office of the Attorney General, which means it's part of the executive. So it's the president really who decides who should be investigated or who should. There are so many cases in Kenya, we know, that there are files to be prosecuted, but the government has decided that should not be prosecuted. So we have politicized the process, and that is why we are saying certain inefficiency in terms of how we are fighting corruption. If this system was independent and efficient, there were so many people in the executive who will have been in jail today. But all their files, because of a certain political dynamics, are not being touched. What has been touched is a small thing. We are running after 1 or 2%, and those 1 or 2% are politically on the wrong side of our matrix. So that's the problem with this country. Corruption in Kenya is politicized. If you think there's a genuine fight to fight corruption, you are delusional. You must have a problem. And that's the problem with Kenya. If you want to fight corruption, fight it openly and leave those institutions that are empowered. The DCI today will only investigate certain people. The DCI will never investigate certain people. The DPP will prosecute certain people. The DPP will never prosecute certain people. So, in such a very toxic, politicized environment, the whole constitutional process will break down. And that is what is facing this country.
But there are also professionals involved in this, including lawyers and accountants and so on. So
no, but you see, if there's a corruption done by lawyer, we have a professional ethics, all those, we have process and procedures. But the corruption done by a lawyer or an accountant is negligible. The country will not die because of corruption by lawyers. And I'm not denying that there are issues. The corruption that's killing this country is the inflated contracts, the 20-30% kickbacks we are having from every project.
Looking ahead to the 10 years, another 10 years of the Constitution, how do you go about bringing a bit of restraint in terms of this power, whether it's executive or whatever other arm of government, for example?
I think we need Parliament to play its role. to provide checks and balances. If you look at this, the current parliament, you will have difficulty even mentioning one MP who speaks for the people of Kenya. The NGOs, and the civil society have played an exemplary role. This litigation, agitative litigation they do in court, stopping government from doing this. I think that's something wonderful. The law society has played also an exemplary role. The law society has gone to court so many times to stop the government from doing certain actions or to compel the government to do certain actions. But the problem we have is, the problem we have really is an executive, even sometimes they exercise powers they don't have.
What about Parliament? What's wrong with it in terms of playing its rightful role?
Parliament, I think everybody knows Parliament is dead. Because, you see, Parliament also has been captured by the executive. When you decide who becomes the speaker, when you decide who becomes the majority leader, when you decide who sits in all those committees, and like happened recently, when you reshuffle according to the whims of the executive, Parliament in Kenya is finished. It is dead.
These people are elected by Kenyans, ordinary Kenyans.
No, the people are different. The quality of the individual is different. But as an institution, why is Parliament not functioning, for example? Why is Parliament not auditing, for example, the executive? Why is Parliament allowing, for example, the executive to do what it wants? There's a lot of weaknesses, that we have seen in the relationship between the executive and the legislature in this country.
Okay, and then finally, just a couple of questions as I was coming away from that heavy document of the Constitution. I see you very active, on Twitter. I almost feel you have chambers on Twitter. And until I walked in here and found you actually have real chambers. First of all, where do you find the time and to stay so active on that space?
No, I'm not very active on Twitter. I comment occasionally. Twitter is a new technology that provides, a venue where many people can meet and discuss certain issues. Twitter is a very good forum in my view because, you can comment about issues, you can commend someone, you can condemn someone, you can bring something into the public for discussion. I tweet actually most of the time when I drive because that's the time I get
You're breaking the law. That's against the law.
Yes, I know. But I think breaking a traffic rule is one of the few, it's one of the rules that are broken. I'm not justifying, but people break bigger things in this country and they go away with it.
But there are people who go to jail because of those simple, people who are not as
No,
powerful
actually,
influential
when
as
you are in a
yourself.
traffic jam for an hour and you tweet, you are not breaking any law. The car is stagnant, so...
You're quite outspoken, both on Twitter and elsewhere. Do you sometimes worry? Do you get into trouble with your comments and your views?
I tweet according to the law. I don't defame people. I don't abuse people. It's not for me. I don't extort from people. There are people who use Twitter to extort, or I don't scandalize people. I express political views, strong political views, sometimes for or against, and I think that's allowed.
Deep inside of you, Ahmed Nasir, who is that person that wants to vent out, to see whatever things that you see wrong in society? Where does that come from?
It comes from me. I don't fake it. It's genuine. I look at my tweets. Sometimes I do it out of to create debate or to. Sometimes I do that, but I don't do it to spite anybody. I believe everything I do, consciously. I go back once in a while to look into, my tweets, whether they were right or wrong. But you see, if we don't comment about certain things in this country, who will comment about it? Yes. If we don't, if we don't criticize certain actions, who will criticize? If we all keep quiet, I belong to a certain category of people on Twitter who generate very good debates about governance issues in this country. About how the government should run, whether the president has done something wrong, whether parliament is doing right, whether the judiciary. So there's a certain, critical mass on Twitter that is very proactive in terms of how is our country doing? Where are we and where should we be? I mean, there are the other guys who do some other crazy things. There are guys who make some money here and there. There are guys who blackmail. There are guys who abuse.
One of the things you've done on Twitter is to tell us about your damaged windscreen. Have you been paid for that now?
No, I haven't been paid. But when I was doing that, you know, of course, I spent money to repair the car. But I wanted to take a position on public bodies. In fact, when I had that accident, I called the CEO of the Kenya Highway Authority. He was in Japan. No, he was in China that time. And he told me that, you know, many people have called him on this road. There were a lot of other incidents like mine. Because what they did is, you know, they were making the road on one side. So they put the tarmac, the gravel, but they did not compress it. Then they allowed trucks to drive. So the trucks that are driving on that side are driving on a wet surface. And since there are so many, I mean, the sparkles, you know, the stones were all over the place. And that's why, you know, my car got damaged. I mean, I could have repaired that car, and I have repaired it, and I will have moved on. But I made the point that, you know, I wanted to test the law, that when a public authority doesn't do the job properly, there must be consequences. And that's the way Kenyans should bring accountability to government institutions. That's the point I was making.
The issue raised there was about duty of care.
Yes, yes.
Although the bigger debate now was about the cost of the windshield to your car.
Yes, I mean, actually, the cost was much more, only that the guys who are making it, the guys who, I mean, the dealer who makes the car gave me a discount, but it's much more than 750. Yes.
1,000.
Yes, yes.
How much is it in real?
The windscreen?
Yes.
I think it's about 1.2 million.
Right.
Yes.
So what's the value of the car then?
They say between, now it will go to, I think between, depending on what kind of car you put, it can go up to 50, 60 million.
Wow. So would it be right for me to say you're one of the people who own Kenya?
Not really. I mean, the people who own Kenya is the people who steal from Kenya, you know. The guys in the executive, you know. The guys who give a contract to a Chinese company, earn 30% as kickback, and nothing happens to them. Those are the people who own Kenya. I mean, as a lawyer, every penny I make in this is from cases people I give. I mean, you know, a lawyer, when we do cases, I do a case, the oldest case I'm doing in this office is a case that started in 1982. I was informed to. We have many lawyers. Only Paul Mute was a lawyer that time. So the cases we do are cases we struggle from 10 to 15 years to finish a case. So we do a lot of work, and the only money we make as lawyers are clients who come to these offices.
So when you drive a car that's about 50 million Kenya shillings, does it bother you that there is a lot of people who will go hungry looking for just 20 shillings?
Of course, it bothers me a lot. It bothers me a lot. I'm conscious of that. I feel sad for them, but I know where the blame lies. It's not me driving a car like that. The blame lies in the guys they have elected, the guys whom they have given those responsibilities, the guys who steal from them, the guys who steal the budget, and there's nothing. That's where the blame lies. The blame lies, you know, Kenyans are escapists. They will make a lot of stories about the car Ahmed drives or this. Ahmed is a private citizen. I don't work for the government of Kenya. I've never worked for a government of Kenya. I was never appointed into any position in my life. Yes. So I have, of course, I'm a Kenyan and I feel for Kenyans, but I don't owe a duty of care.
But you have represented some really powerful people in your career.
Yes, I have. But you see, the people Kenyans should be angry with is the people they elect, the people who run the system, the people who run this government, the people who, those are the guys they should be annoyed with. Yes. Not a lawyer who struggles in his office or works as a private citizen or a doctor or whatever it is. So there are many issues Kenyans can complain about, but until we have an accountable executive, an accountable parliament, an accountable judiciary, we'll continue in this rot.
They call you the Grand Mullah. Where does that come from?
Just a nickname. I tell guys, I mean, Willie Mutunga gave me when I was in the JC, and I think he made the comment in the context that when there's issue of Islamic law, within the JSC, we have a grand mullah, he said. So that's the way the name picks up.
It has stuck since then?
Yes, it's stuck.
So you're not, for the record, you're not actually a mullah?
I am, I think. I am one, I think.
When you say I think, what do you mean?
I mean, I don't want to make a proclamation that I'm a mullah, but also, I mean, as a lawyer, I know a lot about Islamic law also. I mean, I'm a scholar in Islamic law. I know we do cases on Islamic law. I know a lot about Islamic law. I am a mullah. Yes. Whether it is grand or not, it's for another day.
Abdulrasheed, thank you very much indeed for speaking
pleasure.
to NTV.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
If you don't say some of these things, who will? And that concludes the interview with the mullah. Ida Warungo with the sports after this break.
Safaricom iko na 500 MB free kila siku.
Get 500 MB free kila siku and never miss a moment. Dial *544# to activate your offer. Browse bila was on Kenya's best network.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
Best quality KEBS certified steel. TMT steel bars. Produced from the most modern machines and technology. Reliable and with the highest strength. Suitable for all types of construction. That is, high-rise buildings, bridges, houses and roads.
Look for the Devki mark on a wider selling reinforcement, twisted and TMT rebars, which are KBS certified and have the diamond mark of quality. Devki Steel, Kenya's most trusted steel company.
From far with you. I even gifted you a magnificent house. Rosa, it's the thought that counts. Please help me.
When it comes to fever, you need to be both. Panadol Baby and Infant starts to work on fever in 15 minutes and is gentle on the tummy. Panadol Baby and Infant, tough on fever, gentle on your child.
When you buy a bar of Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate, you can help change the story. That's because we will use part of the proceeds to donate milk to less fortunate children across our beautiful country. Let us come together and show the generous spirit that is inside of all of us. Cadbury Dairy Milk. There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Pants is just for me. It really feels very comfy.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Top dressing tea. Avoid top dressing during heavy rains as it'll be eroded away. Weeding should be done before top dressing to ensure they don't regrow.
More than 500,000 farmers in Kenya can have easy access at affordable packs of 1 kg to 50 kg across major agro-dealers. Farmers who have used Mavuno fertilizers have realized 30% more yield. Please feed your crop and soil with the best fertilizers for future prosperity. Call us today and learn how Mavuno fertilizers is helping in increasing food production in Africa.
You have been chosen to come here because you are the best journalism students in Kenya.
If your content is not interesting to look at, don't waste my time.
You submitted your work late. Why?
Each and everything that we used had problem.
No excuses in the newsroom.
Just let it go because it's a teamwork, for heaven's sake.
I think you should go home.
What if you don't agree with what he said? Will you say, So keep that.
Tumechoka, tumebit, tumezunguka.
Ni noma.
Welcome to Garden of Joy in Machakos by Optiven. This is a gated community that is strategically located only 7 minutes drive from Komata. The title deeds are ready. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
NTV Sport in association with Showmax.
A very good evening to you. Hoping you had a fantastic weekend. Let's get right into it. Well, NTV Sport continues its focus on pacemakers who are an integral part of any marathon. Tonight, we turn the spotlight on Vivian Jerono Kiplagat, who will be pacing women's marathon world record holder Bridget Kosgei in October's London Marathon. Steve Keter caught up with Jerono at her training camp in Elgeyo Marakwet.
Vivian Jerono Kiplagat started 2020 hoping to keep the momentum of the previous 2 years going. Jerono won the 2018 Honolulu Marathon and followed that up with several victories, including the Milan City and Abu Dhabi Marathons in 2019.
Nilikuwa nimepangiwa Paris. Nilikuwa nimejiprepare sasa ya maana. Ndio corona tu ikakuja.
The COVID-19 pandemic might have put Jerono's plans on hold, but the 29-year-old will get a chance to help the women's marathon world record holder Bridget Kosgei hopefully realize hers. The two train at the Kapsite Athletics Training Camp at the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot counties. Jerono, who returned to full training barely a month ago following the pandemic break, will be pacing Kosgei at the 2020 London Marathon. The 26-year-old aims to defend her title in the UK capital. Jerono, who broke the women's race record at the 2019 Mexico City Marathon, looks ahead to competition beyond the London showpiece.
But kama hata sasa watakimbia London, hata Mungu atatufungulia huko mbele. Maybe tutapewa race sababu December.
Steve Keter, NTV Sport, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Thanks for that, Steve Keter. Well, let's cross borders. And Son Heung-min scored 4 goals in a stunning display as Tottenham secured their first Premier League win of the season by coming from behind to thrash Southampton 5-2. The South Korea international was assisted by Harry Kane for all 4 of his goals as Spurs took control after Danny Ings' fine finish from a tight angle had given Southampton Thank you, Ida, and that concludes NTV Weekend Edition. David Agondwa has been our sign language interpreter. David, I don't know whether you had those thoughts mention you as they were imitating Mark and Smriti. I'm sure you were very flattered. Well, enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Olive Burrows. Thank you for keeping us company.
This is NTV.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Wanaume ni bidii na kusema leo niko ndani. Kuangusha mistari na kudamini ufahari. Form ni gani? Trust, study, rip them a classic. Form ni gani? Trust, study, rip them a classic. Leo niko ndani. Are you the standard man? Trust. Are you the great man? Trust. Are you the classic man? Trust. Are you every man?
Trust condoms. Who are true?
Mimi ni fundi, naelewa chuma ya nguvu ni gani. Wini tulijuana 2010.
Kitengenezewa mlango na chuma strong, utakuwa ukilala usingizi nono.
Jijenge na Doshi Steel. Chuma ya nguvu.
In the event that you would like to verify the genuineness of the certificates, what you need to do is to dial *352#. You can also download the Aki app onto your phone. If by any chance you happen to sell your motor vehicle, it will be important that you contact your insurance company for cancellation of the certificate that you're holding.
Along came one.
It looks like Luciana is sticking her nose into things that are none of her business.
This isn't the right time.
He was always after me and everything was just going great until Marta got in the way, just as she did with your father.
If there's anything that concerns my children, you have to tell me about it. Do you understand? Excuse me for interfering, but if Luciana But still, she doesn't have any right to keep from me anything that has to do with my children. Yes, but...
I don't even want to think about how much trouble she's in.
Luciana, the fact that I can't be with you doesn't mean that I can just forget everything I feel for you.
Are you alright, Madam Lillian? Is anything wrong? It's nothing you can fix. Nobody has the cure for love problems.
Along came love in association with Blue Band Peanut Butter.
You have been chosen to come here because you are the best journalism students in Kenya.
If your content is not interesting to look at, don't waste my time.
You submitted your work late. Why?
Each and everything that we used had problem.
No excuses in the newsroom.
Just let it go because it's a teamwork, for heaven's sake.
I think you should go home.
What if you don't agree with what he said? Will you say, So keep that.
Tumechoka, tumebit, tumezunguka.
Ni noma.
Welcome to Garden of Joy in Machakos by Optiven. This is a gated community that is strategically located only 7 minutes drive from Komata. The title deeds are ready. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
NTV, turning on your world. The following program has been rated PG. It may contain scenes unsuitable for children under the age of 10.